What's up, Hyperfast Nation? On this episode of the show, I sat down with a top agent who made the transition from army to sales to real estate and is now on her way to selling $55 million in volume. Welcome to the show, Nicole Stanbra. All right, welcome to the show today, Nicole. How are you doing? Welcome to the show today, Nicole. How are you doing?
Great. Good to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on, talk about the market, all the crazy, amazing things you're doing in luxury, specifically in luxury, waterfront in Florida, and some other crazy stuff as well. Before we jump into that, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, how you got into real estate, and what your team is up to this year.
Sure. So I got my license about 6 years ago while I was on maternity leave with my son, because I had 3 months paid vacation, so you might as well do something. And my husband and I were just in this situation where we were buying, selling homes every couple of years. So we were like, somebody needs to get their license so we don't have to hire a realtor anymore. So jumped in, got my license. We bought and sold a house for our own purposes, and I thought that that's all I would do. But then things kind of started happening organically, and started getting a couple deals here and there on the side while I was working a full-time job. And then I just made the leap 3 years ago to go full in real estate and just quit the day job and go for it. And
how long were you doing both?
About 2 years. Okay. Yeah. And it was like definitely a side hustle at first, because the main source of income was from my, W-2 job, and I wasn't quite ready to make the leap.
What kind of job was that?
I was always in sales and business development. So I was working for a utility company. So, like you get the benefits and salary and consistency. So it's a little nerve-wracking to make that leap, but the time
How did you know when you were ready? Because I talked to a lot of real estate agents, and sometimes they're not ready, even when it's like so apparent they are. Like I've recently talked to an agent selling 10 million. I want to say like 10 million a year.
Oh,
8 to 10 million
as a side?
As a side.
Oh my God.
And they work for a software company, making about the same there.
Okay.
Right, but they're spending 30 to 40 hours on that.
Yeah.
And afraid to make.
I mean, damn, if you're at 10 million already, there's some agents who aren't even doing half of that, and that's like their full-time source of income. I think the timing, it was just a timing thing. I knew
How much volume did you have when you left, or pipeline?
Honestly, I left and I didn't even know what volume was. Like, I didn't know how to calculate GCI or volume or net income. I think I did maybe 6 deals my first year. Yeah. I think I made about $55,000. My base salary at my other job was $120,000. So I was like, how am I going to close that gap? Right. But then by the second year, I doubled my income. And really, every year since, I've either doubled or tripled my GCI. So I think it was just kind of seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, jumping and committing. And I knew I wanted to have my own business at some point. And this kind of like the stars aligned. And I was like, all right, this is my opportunity to go make something that's my own.
What happened after you quit the job? I know for me, I was in that same boat, how I started. It was like 6 months for me. I did know how to calculate GCI early on, but I had about 100K of GCI in my 90-day pipeline, which was about what I would make at the company for a year.
Right.
So I quit, and then as soon as I did that, I did this I had this feeling of liberation and freedom, and my income skyrocketing even more. So did quitting give you more time, energy, resources to accelerate the growth even more?
No, I think what it was, because my W-2 job, I had a lot of flexibility with time. So it wasn't like I was working in an office. I think what it was after that first year, I jumped right into a coaching program. And I just learned I'm such a huge advocate for mentors and coaches and trainers and learning from people who are in the business like you and Carrie. So I jumped into a coaching program right away and got the basic tools. And we talk about superpowers all the time. My superpower is that I implement immediately. So all those things that I learned that first conference, I implemented and I saw it worked. And I'm like, oh shit, like I can actually grow a business doing these things. And I saw results very quickly from implementing so fast. So I think like my second year in real estate was 120,000 GCI. So I did, double my year before, and I matched what I was making in my salary job. So at that point, it was just a sense of, okay, I got this, and I see the light at the end of the tunnel where I can grow it even more.
Right.
Yeah.
How long did it take till you made your first hire and started building out the team?
Yeah. Okay. So my first hire was probably when I went full time. I was about 2.5 years in, and that was just getting an assistant. Anybody to take anything off my plate, because I was learning so much, all these systems. So I was like, I don't have time to build out spreadsheets and charts and organize this stuff. So who can I hire that can kind of just input data and help me set up some programs? So I hired an assistant, and then quickly after that, I generated so many leads where I'm like, I need more agents. So then that's how I started building out. So I'd say by year 3, I started actually growing a team and trying to hire and have members on the team.
Let's talk about lead flow, like where you got your deals from when you were starting out versus how you're doing it now and the new market you're breaking into now.
Yep. So all right, so 2016 was when I got it, and I think I took the leap, and I spent $500 a month on Zillow, and I was like, oh my God, this is so much money, like, because I had never put that much money in advertising on anything before, so it was really scary for me. And I remember at the time, $500 in the Zip in Jupiter got you like a significant share of the market.
It wasn't like 200 a lead back then.
No, it was fair, it was reasonable. So like, I started getting my phone's ringing. I got like my first listing, my first month advertising with Zillow. And I was like, should I refer it to someone? Because it's 30 minutes out of my territory. And my broker's like, no, you take the listing and you try to convert and you build your business that way. So it started just with Zillow, and that's where I was still kind of part-time. But it just went so quickly because we converted buyers from our listings and listings from our buyers. So organically, with the help of kind of that initial bump from Zillow, it just kind of got me building out a pipeline from there. And that was probably for the first 1.5 years, the only thing I really advertised in was Zillow, because I didn't know what else to really advertise in. Then I started doing Facebook ads, maybe some Google pay-per-click, some like direct mail, but very basic. I didn't have strong call to actions because I just didn't know how to actually do marketing.
Right.
And then I eventually learned all of that. But so yeah, in the very beginning, it was maybe $500 a month.
And then now you're trying concentrated effort, right? If the Real Producers magazine is correct, you're trying to move into new construction,
yes.
luxury. How is that going, and how have you made that jump to try to push the price points?
Yeah, so like average price point my first few years were those, I'd say $400,000 buyer, and those were like the bread and butter because they sold quick, they sold easy, and most of buyers are in that little pocket between $400,000 and $500,000. And then I think you just gonna have to leverage one opportunity. Like I sent out a direct mail letter. I got my first $1.5 million listing, and that was maybe year 4.
How many homes are you mailing out?
Not enough, not a big. I was going after expireds, okay. So I was going after old 2-year-old expired listings, and I would maybe mail out 10 or 20 a week. Sure. So it was like I wasn't even putting enough volume out there, but I got a call, got this listing, and I'm like, all right, I have an amazing opportunity to go from my average price point, which is $400, to 1.5 in a luxury gated community. So then I was like, all right, how do I get some buyers out of this? And I would have showings, and I just learned how to convert the buyers. And if this is not the right house, let me find you something else. So that kind of started me into that different price point. And then inevitably, I also connected with a developer local to the area who's a family-owned business, great construction company, engineering firm, and just kind of through opportunities of acquiring land for them, was rewarded with having the opportunity to list their properties, and it's kind of just been a rinse and repeat since then, and that's put me into like the $3 to $4 million price point. But again, it goes back to like you have a listing, And sure, you want to sell it, but how I have 20 other buyers calling on it, how do you leverage those people to create business? And so from a lot of those luxury listings.
To go
yes.
talk to other sellers.
Exactly. And so you had sellers who see what I'm doing to promote and advertise my luxury listing. So I'm tapping into that. But then the buyers who were calling through, sign calls or online inquiries, they're looking at the luxury price point. So I've been able to convert several buyers to purchase not my listing, but other listings in the area.
Are there things you have to do differently for your luxury buyer, luxury seller in terms of marketing, just dealing with the client that maybe is different than, the median price, or are they really just the same as anyone else? Just some people maybe are intimidated.
I think that every agent probably handles things differently. For me, I provide the same kind of marketing package and material and effort as I do on my $100,000 little condo as a $4 million listing. But I probably have a lot more video and a lot more coverage, because when I'm doing, like, for example, the development or new construction properties, I'm videoing phases of the project. So I'm creating a lot more content to kind of show off my developer and then market what we're doing for the community, because we're really transitioning a lot of neighborhoods, especially the new construction. Like, we're buying tear down homes that look terrible, and we're beautifying the entire neighborhood. We're putting new roads in, we're putting new landscaping in. We've painted other homes on the street just to make the neighborhood look nicer.
Oh, wow.
To get it,
Interesting strategy.
that's baller status for this developer. But then also, I think luxury, one thing that is important, yes, I think luxury clients have high expectations. They want top dollar. They want to be taken care of. So I think there's probably a little bit different level of service that's expected. But then also, a lot of the luxury in my neighborhood is waterfront. So you have to be super knowledgeable on the waterfront. So understanding the different waterways, the inlets, high tide, low tide, what bridge, what kind of boats can accommodate different canals and stuff. So I think when you get to that waterfront niche, you really need to be knowledgeable.
There's more things you have to know.
You gotta know types of boats, and I don't really know. I've learned about boats. I'm not like really a boater, but I'm like, all right, I know basic. I know if there's a T-top, so I know what boats can navigate different water systems. But I've learned that just through having the waterfront property listings.
How do you think the Army helped prepare you for what you do now?
I think everyone has different takeaways of their time and service, and I think for me, it's just like, no is not an option, and just figure it out and come up with a solution. And if there's an obstacle, there's got to be a way to overcome it. So no matter how difficult a client might be or how terrible a property may be, you got to kind of make lemonade out of lemon and figure out a way forward. So just kind of pushing on. And I think it also has a lot to do with the work ethic. Like, you got to bring your A game.
Does that background help you attract and work more with veterans? Is that a big part of your business?
So early on, for sure, one of my main niches was my veteran and first responder, all my heroes clients. And I created Operation Home Team, which was a way that we gave back and paid it forward to those clients. And that definitely helped me build out my business initially. And I think that's still something that I have a strong brand awareness with. And I think it's important too, because I've purchased, especially when you go like purchasing home with VA loans, I purchased several homes using my VA loan, so I understand the financing process. And I think that's so important in this market right now, because most agents do not understand financing in general. Right. They certainly don't understand VA financing. And if they have a listing that I'm trying to submit a VA offer on, it's like I have to educate them and their seller as to why they should accept. So having
it's actually typically easier to get approved.
For sure.
The debt to income ratio limits, I think, are at least 55, but I've seen them pushed into the 60s, and on Fannie Freddie, it's like 43. So that part of it's definitely easier. So there are some advantages, and like you said, a lot of them don't know.
They don't even know. And then, even with appraisals, which was such an issue the last couple of years, like we have Tidewater, which is just another way to verify and try to push through the appraisal situation if it comes in short. So there's just so many ways that I think veterans who are looking to purchase, it is helpful for them to find someone who's knowledgeable specifically with VA financing.
I think you're going to start to see that part of the business increase a little bit, because I think with interest rates up, the VA loans typically better than the conventional, and that's more of a factor now. And I think with inventory going up, more sellers are going to be like, great, we got an offer. I don't care if it's VA.
That's
right?
exactly it.
Like we just had 2 7-figure VA loan offers in DC, come in like in the last week. So I think, I think that's one area that agents probably should focus on that you covered. The other is the expireds and withdrawals. That probably people should get good at that again, because there's some sellers that are probably still used to the peak prices, and they're gonna sit, and then we all know the saying, you want to be the firstborn son, second wife, third realtor.
That's so true. Well, it's true too, because I mean, this market was so hot for sellers that I would take a 60-day listing like that, because I knew I'd sell it in the first weekend. So all these people who are doing
you won't take that now?
I have a listing now that's been on for 30 days and I'm like panicking. I mean, it's overpriced, which is just resetting expectations. But yeah, it's like the market overnight shifted, and we're just getting back to the normal market where homes sit for 30, 60, maybe a little bit more longer in a healthy market.
And then agent skill is going to come into play more.
Yes,
right?
The pricing strategy is so important. Submitting an offer that best, represents the buyers is going to be more important. You can't just there was a point where I feel like the sellers can just make a reverse offer and be like, this is my number, just sign here and we'll take it.
Here's the number and terms.
Yeah.
If you don't like it.
Yeah, pretty much. So I think watching withdrawns, canceled, expireds on the MLS and because I used to have that set for maybe 180-day, days on market. Now I'm closing it in maybe like a 60-day on market, and I'm watching those and then engaging with that. And then the FSBOs. I mean, those were always like the bread and butter just 5 years ago, and then we got away from that because there weren't any. So now I think they're going to come. So
FSBOs, expireds, withdrawns, VA, all good things to add. You're adding the luxury. Is there anything differently you're doing with the team now, or that you think you might be doing in the next 6 to 12 months?
So we're at the stage where it's always like the chicken or the egg. I have enough agents but not enough leads, or I have enough leads but not enough agents. So now I'm at the point where I have all my lead gen programs firing on all cylinders. I need more agents. So it's kind of just the constant, regrouping, building out slowly. And I think now with help from you and Carrie and Hyperfast, I've been able to really dial in the avatar of who I'm trying to hire for my team. And I think that took time for me to really understand my brand, my culture, and what I want to extend as part of my team, and making sure they're a right fit for that. Because I was at this point where I had so many leads and not enough agents, and I was hiring out of desperation, bringing on people who were not the right fit for me or the culture. And so now I'm a lot slower to hire. We're just making more progress getting the right people at this point.
What do you think is the biggest challenge right now for agents, or in particular, the agents on your team? What's their biggest challenge that you're trying to help?
Yeah. Okay. So hands down, I think, especially the newer agents who just got their license 2 years ago, like the COVID agents, they have no concept of what a real estate market is like. They have literally, buyers could just fall in your lap all day, every day, the last 2 years, and you just had no listings. There were you could have 12 buyers saying, hey, I want to make an offer on a property, and you just can't get an offer submitted, right? Or you could, but now the buyers kind of took a couple steps back. So now it's getting back to how you make phone calls, how you prospect, how you convert on the phone, how you actually price listings properly, and kind of just going back to the basics. So we've done a lot of training on basic foundations of how to be a real estate agent in a market where it's shifting and transitioning a little bit more back towards buyers, and you really have to sharpen those skills because it just moved so quickly the last 2 years. So my agents who have a listing that's sitting for more than a month, they're panicking. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, this is actually how a normal market is. They don't sell all the time in the first weekend. Or if a buyer is a little skittish about putting an offer in because the market is shifting, it's like, how do I communicate that to the buyer? They're not desperate anymore. They're not just making offers with no contingencies over $100,000 anymore because they don't have to.
Right.
So it's kind of just training them back up on what a normal market is, and then, you know, sharpening those skills a little bit more.
Back to the basics for everyone.
Back to basics. Yeah.
What, you know, as a female, online advertising.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, well, you know where it's going. What kind of challenges in itself does that bring you?
I know. You know, it's unique, I think, for women because, I mean, as real estate agents, we are public figures, right? Like at least the ones who have a social profile and are actively engaged on, you know, digital marketing. So pictures are everywhere, videos are everywhere, and that's our way to engage with the public and, you know, create content and be realtors. So there's like this fine line and balance on what kind of content you put out there. And I think you just have to constantly look at it as a professional, and sure, you're putting, you know, some personal stuff out there with your kids and your family. Maybe you're at the beach, but then you're also having content out there where you're, you know, professional working, right? So I just always caution people to look at it in that way and try to keep yourself professional at all times, because no matter what, even if you think it's on a private page or you're not sharing it to public, people still see things. Right. Once it's on there, everyone's seeing it. And then, yeah, I think you have to be very careful with inbound calls. So in the last couple of years, I've definitely had my fair share of calls, as my team has, of, yeah, I'm looking for a $20 million listing and it's a Zillow lead or a realtor.com lead. And it's like, great, that sounds wonderful. And as an agent, don't you want to work with a $20 million luxury buyer? Well, great. I'd love to work with you. Let me take all your contact information. Do you have proof of funds? You know, where do you live now currently? I'd love to schedule a showing for you. Why don't we meet at my office first? And then we can go take a look at the property. So, and there's reasons we do that, right? Like proof of funds, show me the money. Right. Show me that you actually have the proceeds to purchase a $20 million home. Where do you live now? Oh, when I type in your address, it shows a mobile home. So that's weird, right? Google Earth shows a lot.
Move up buyer.
Move up buyer, right? Moving up big time. Oh, I've literally had buyers leads say that they just came into a large sum of money, like they won money on Lotto, or they've gotten money through, you know, a trust fund type of thing. So there's all stories, but so show me the money, kind of verifying that they are who they are. We're always doing Google searches to make sure we can find them. If we can't find them online, if they don't exist online, they probably are not a real person. Because nowadays, they're at least on Google or LinkedIn or Facebook or something.
Not so much for clients, but you could. But I have like a very cheap monthly membership to Truthfinder.
Truthfinder, yeah.
And
yeah, that's a good one too.
Yeah, when we're hiring contractors or anyone that we might do partnership with. Like,
yeah.
You look through there and it, you know, you can tell criminal records,
for sure,
judgments, liens,
yeah,
all the kind of stuff you might want to know before you give someone
all those things. Yeah. And then it, like when you actually book the appointment, because sometimes, you know, if it's a hot lead, you might just meet them right at the property. But for us, with those types of clients, we definitely meet them off-site in a public area, like our office, where we have other people there to kind of watch out and stuff. And yeah, it's just, at the end of the day, yeah, people send weird pictures, send weird videos. I have multiple phone numbers on my phone, so that's another way where I really try to keep business separate from my personal.
How do you do that?
Well, I have 2 Google Voice numbers.
Gotcha, Google
I have my sideline, like I have an app that I pay, my personal number. So I have, and then I have all forwarding numbers, right? So I try not to give out my personal number, but yeah, like pictures, inappropriate things being sent.
What was the weird, you got like a weird one a while ago that like
I know.
You actually called the person out, I think, on TikTok or Instagram.
Yes.
Or maybe.
So what was good about that was, like, I'm not the only one this happens to. Most females who put themselves out there in the social eye get these kind of calls. So he was calling one of my agents late night, and his excuse was that he was like West Coast. So he was calling at 10 or 11 o'clock at night, and just strange conversations. And she'd be like, great, is your wife going to be part of the decision making? And he's like, yeah, absolutely. And so she would try to connect with him. And then, so it started getting weird with just the late night phone calls. And then just one day he started sending like really inappropriate video messages of him in the shower. It was terrible. It was terrible. So yeah, we get those types of messages all the time.
I like how you kind of call them out on it.
Yeah.
On
So we did a quick little reel and exposed it.
So that's on your TikTok or Instagram?
That's on my Instagram reel and TikTok.
Okay, and what is
so
that
check it out.
if people want to...
Yeah, so TikTok is Stanbra, and then Instagram is stanbra.hometeam. So it's definitely on there. I was trying to get that thing to go viral, but I say the good thing is I got so much engagement with a lot of local female realtors, and they've all experienced it, right? So now what we have with some of the other agents in my market is we kind of have like a do not fly list, where if we get someone really super creepy like that, we'll share it in like a group message with people. So all of our teams know, like, hey, if you get a call from this guy or this number, he's a creep show, like DND him, do not reply to him. So that's what we've been just doing to look out for each other.
Well, it's unfortunate that kind of stuff is out there.
But guys don't even know that.
Yeah.
Like
I guess no one's ever done that.
No one sent you any naked pictures, right?
Not that I know of.
But it happens. Like the guy realtors in our market were like, I can't believe this shit happens to you. Like they had no idea. I'm like, it's a regular basis. So keep that in mind too. Like for guys, if you see weird behavior happening, like, to look out for each other, especially in this profession where we're often showing properties or doing open homes by themselves. So.
Yeah, no,
safety.
important to put safety ahead of like, oh my gosh, this $10 million
Yeah, let me go run down to Miami and meet him by myself. Not a good idea.
Well, before we wrap up here, I always like to do a hyper fast round if you're ready for some rapid fire Q&A.
Yes.
Biggest piece of advice to new agents?
Get a mentor. Hire a coach, hire training, learn, and just absorb, be a sponge, and then implement immediately.
Biggest mistakes that experienced agents make?
Complacency and just not being consistent and not having systems in place. So like relying on that paycheck and then not continuing the marketing between deal to deal. Because I think it's just, you got to like restart up every time. So just having things very consistent.
What's something you're doing in your business now that you weren't doing a year ago?
I'd say creating the different roles on my team, like the partner agent position, building out the teams in an organized way, so that I have good people filling out the different pillars that I'm trying to create in the business.
Biggest challenge you've ever had in the business, and how did you overcome it?
Biggest challenge? I just say it was probably early on, just having the confidence in myself to kind of just to go for it. And I think that has a lot to do just with having the experience of getting in front of multiple people. I think that just comes with time and volume and just repetition, rinse and repeat, just getting more up at bats, like being able to close more deals and seal more listings. You just got to have more up at bats, and it's okay if you don't get that initial listing, but at least you learn from some of your mistakes, and then you can implement better things the next time.
What's your sales volume goal for this year?
My goal is 55 million. I was at 40 million last year, so I bumped it up a little bit. I think I'll probably get around 50 million this year.
All right, last one. Where do you see yourself 5 years from now?
Okay. I want to just buy, I want to look like you and Carrie. I want to buy lots of both residential and commercial property. I'd love to have my team really more on autopilot, where I can just really try to focus more on training and building the team and continuing leveraging leads for them. But I'd love to really step out entirely from production and then just work more on some development type projects where I can buy some commercial properties and retail spaces and do some subletting. So I want to tap a little bit more into the commercial side.
You'll feel differently once you do some of them.
I might, but you guys make it look so easy, so I'm figuring if you could do it.
Well, it's been amazing having
Yes.
you on. If people want to connect with you, learn more about your
Yes.
team, what areas do you cover, by the way?
Okay,
just so people
so
know?
I'm in northern Palm Beach County, but my team covers pretty much down to Broward and up to Port St. Lucie.
Okay.
But our kind of niche is definitely the Jupiter Palm Beach Gardens to Cuesta area. My website, www.stambrahometeam.com, and you can find me on Stanbra Home Team on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and TikTok.
All right. Well, thank you for being
Yes.
on the show.
Thank
To all
you
of
for
our
having me.
listeners and viewers, thank you for tuning in. Please share this episode with other people, and we'll see you next time.
See you later.